Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time here in the booming metropolis known as Ambler, Pennsylvania, just outside the city of brotherly love, aka Philadelphia. Noon Eastern time, Ambler, Thursday. You know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, talent management, recruiting, human resources as a whole, and of course, artificial intelligence. I am your host, Devin Foster, and Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion find the right work. That's why we host this podcast every single Thursday, why we have another magnificent podcast with Cliff Yerkowitz called Unusual Attitudes that comes out every couple of Mondays now. We've sped it up. It used to be one Monday a month, but now it's every couple of Mondays where he talks with thought leaders all around the industry about fantastic conversations, including AI. The other way that we help 1 billion people find the right work is through our fantastic webinars and, of course, our technology and our upcoming conference in March, actually specifically March 10th through the 12th. I am talking about I Am Phenom. It is going to be headlined by keynote speaker Simon Sinek. There will also be well over 100 breakout sessions from industry leaders to real practitioners and everything in between. So it is certainly a can't-miss event this spring. If you haven't registered, feel free to do so now. Of course, following this program, you can find all the information, including the full agenda, at iamphenom.com. Now, conferences are great, as is webinars and podcasts and everything in between. But the real way that we help 1 billion people find the right work is through our Applied Intelligent Talent Experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level productivity and efficiency, and managers get to build better teams through data, automation, and intelligence. If any of this interests you at all, after you visit iamphenom.com, and of course after you watch this full episode, don't walk to phenom.com, where you can learn everything about our super slick artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is the perfect segue to our topic today. We are doing something a little bit new around these parts. There has been some discussion, I know, within these four walls of Phenom around intelligence and automation. We recently launched the 2026 Benchmarks State of AI and Intelligence report, written and co-authored by Joanna Keel here. And within there is a tremendous amount of information, breakdowns on industries, how mature organizations are when it comes to artificial intelligence and automation, and so much more. But one key point in the early pages of the 110-page report is all around the levels of AI and automation. And over the course of these next 6 episodes, we are going to break down those particular levels very intricately. I will be joined by a slew of experts in artificial intelligence, specifically when it comes to HR, and we're going to talk about the maturity and how important it is to make sure you don't skip steps in order to get the most out of artificial intelligence and automation in your organization. Now, that brings me to today's episode. We are going to start off with an overview of all 5 and talk a little bit about level 0, which is where I think most organizations are today. At least that's what the report itself identifies. So to start us off, I want to ask a quick question. How many of us, you at home, including myself, have been told we need to use more AI? AI is everywhere. It's changing the workforce. We need to get it in our everyday activities with absolutely no follow-up. There's no point of instruction. There's no place to go from that. It's almost like being told, hey, you need to get on a diet. You need to lose weight. Do it, right? And that's how you end up with a blown out hamstring. If you start to run too fast, that's how you end up hangry and cranky, like I know I am. If you put yourself at a caloric deficit and starve yourself, you need some sort of roadmap, some sort of plan in order to leverage AI and automation efficiently. And that's a challenge because as it stands today, AI is everywhere. And it's specifically everywhere in human resources. There are tools, there are webinars, there are vendors, pilot processes, promises made, promises kept, The future of AI is everywhere in our face. And for most teams, it is very overwhelming. You are shown the starship. I haven't watched Star Trek in a long time. You're shown the Millennium Falcon, because I know Star Wars way better, rather than how to drive, right? It is overwhelming, and teams need to start small. It's all about slowing down when it comes to AI and automation, because slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So I mentioned that this is going to be a 6-part series on the level of intelligence and automation. This isn't a new framework. This is one that we particularly already use. It's just explained clearly. As I mentioned, it is already in the 2026 benchmarks report. We overwhelmingly just want to get this message out there because there are so many teams struggling with it. And most organizations don't fail because of bad tools. There are a plentiful amount of great resources and tools a whole. I'll liken it back to that kind of diet explanation, right? There's great food everywhere. There's great exercises everywhere. It's learning how to use it that becomes the most effective. And one of the ways that organizations fail the most is they don't know where they're starting from. It is trying to find directions in 2002. You don't have a clear starting point, and you have to find your way to I-95 or Route 66 or Highway 0 before you can get to the point. And then you have the roadmap as to where to go. And that's what we're going to explain today. We are going to identify overall those 0 to 5 levels. Hopefully you find the pinpoint where you're at, and we'll dive a bit more into each of those every week. But newsflash, a lot of organizations are going to be starting at 0. Now, the best way to start, I believe, is the clarification of what is intelligence and what is automation. A lot of times these two terms are used interchangeably, and that simply isn't the case. To put it simply, automation helps you do work faster. Intelligence helps you make better decisions based on that. So if we were to apply that to some common tools and examples that human resource teams are using today, automation would be the scheduling tools. Automation would be email blasts. It would be things along those lines. True intelligence is understanding who the best fit candidates are for your organization, giving them better experiences through voice agents and leveraging agents, where not only are you moving fast now, but you're able to make decisions in real time based on speed, creating a better experience for everyone. Most companies think automation is intelligence. That's simply not the case. A real-world analogy of that would be a dishwasher being automation. Yes, it automatically does your dishes, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you still have to scrub off, the pasta that your child left on there. You still have to clean it to some extent, load and unload the dishwasher. No, you're not doing all of them manually, but you are starting that process and moving quicker. An HR-specific example of this would be automation sends emails, and intelligence understands who to send them to and why. So now that we have those two definitions out of the way, and hopefully you have a better understanding, I try to simplify them as best I can. I learned best through analogies. Hopefully you do as well. So we're going to continue that in this path, and you can use them in your next meeting and conversation with leaders. But now we're going to get into really the specifics and outline each of those levels of automation. Starting with level 0, it's no intelligence, no automation. It is Boolean searches. It is, starting filters and things like that. It's probably the way you've been doing things for a very long time. You just haven't realized it. Level 1 is task level automation and assisted intelligence. That is where we're going to get into some of those interview scheduling pieces, some of those other automated tasks to move you a little bit faster. Level 3 is going to be partial process automation or semi-automated intelligence. Level 4 is high automation and high intelligence. And level 5, the gold standard, is a fully integrated automation and fully integrated intelligence. Now, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of those in future episodes, and I don't want to overwhelm the audience today. But Let me just reassure you, this, no matter what level you are on as it stands today, this is not a maturity judgment. Just because you are at a level 3 and someone else is at a level 0 doesn't make them better at their job. We are trying to find that starting point that I mentioned with the Google Maps analogy, so that when you do figure out your next steps, you are headed in the right direction and not down a path of no hope. Overall, it's a map. Nobody gets a gold star here today by saying they're level 4 when they actually aren't, just because they're copy and pasting spreadsheets. Number one, we don't hand out gold stars. And number two, if you're lying about which level you're on to yourself, your team, or even your leaders, you're not doing yourself any advantage, right? You're going to have to start back at that core framework at some point, whether you like it or not. So as I mentioned, those are the 5 levels. We're going to talk a bit more today specifically around level 0 and what it looks like, because we found in that report that most organizations are operating at a level 0. And like I said, no shame to them. Identifying where you are is most important in this process. And what that looks like, to define it clearly, is that there is no automation that you're leveraging today. You are manually sending out calendar invites for interviews. You are manually following up, rescheduling, finding time for hiring managers, writing job descriptions from scratch, copy and pasting previous job descriptions. There's no intelligence involved in the process at all. The work is very manual. You are reactive to needs. Hiring manager says, oh, we needed this salesperson yesterday. Immediately you are out trying to, throw this job posting up on as many job boards as you can, cranking out phone calls to try and fill that need. It is reactive, and truly dependent on folks remembering things. Now, there's no shame in this. Some people remember things very well and have photographic memories. They've even made TV series about it. Check out Suits if you get the chance. But it isn't going to help you keep up with the Joneses when it comes to AI and automation. Some real life examples of this in HR is that manual data entry, resume screening by eye, right? You miss people who fall through the cracks. It is interview scheduling ping pong back and forth, as if, we don't have technology to solve some of these pain points. It is status updates in spreadsheets. Truth be told, in a past life, I was a recruiter. I did all of these things. You are a better recruiter than me. That's why I'm in marketing now. Those who can't do, market. That's also why I'm not in sales. But I digress. Level 0 is like a restaurant, back in the glory days of the food service industry, also a previous job that I had. It is manually writing down orders and putting them up on that, whatever that thing is called, where you shoot it down and the chef fires your meal for table 47, whatever it may be. Next time you go to a restaurant, pay attention to how orders are taken. Yes, they may be manual note-taking. That's still a thing. But then they're going to go over to a POS system and put all of those notes in a system to optimize it for the people in the back of the house. We want that for you, not sticky notes left all over the kitchen where some are falling off. All of a sudden, you forgot to fire the fries on table 4, and you've gotten the worst tip of your life. Now, I say all this, and I want to proceed with a little bit of caution here, because I think a lot of teams can resonate with what I just explained as far as those manual processes. This is a trap. It is dangerous for your human resources team. Not dangerous in the sense of, oh my gosh, I've fallen into quicksand and I can't get out. It is dangerous because it feels familiar. It's the way we've always done. It also feels very controllable, right? You are manually doing all these tasks. You feel like there are less opportunity for mistakes because it's the way that it's always done. But the issue with it is it can't scale. And as we all know, business is all about scaling. It is getting more of the right folks in your business for a longer period of time. And if other organizations are doing it better, stronger, faster than you are, you're going to fall behind. An analogy of this, it's driving a car with no dashboard, right? It is keeping pace with, the companies next to you. Speed limit 65. I don't know if I'm going too fast, if I'm going too slow. Oh no, a cop, right? We need these sort of insights. You can't move forward or understand how fast or how far you're going without the ability to track it and leverage it in some way, shape, or form. Now, it It's dangerous because of those things that I mentioned, but that danger also comes with a cost. And these costs aren't necessarily line items on a budget sheet, right? They're not something that you can report on, but they're real costs in the real world. The number one is going to be burnout. Your teams are going to get stressed out as more is demanded from them, as other teams across the business are leveraging AI. That expectation is going to be bestowed upon them, and they're going to run out of steam. The other is inconsistency. Whether you're copying, pasting, or not, there are going to be flaws that arrive, that show themselves. There's going to be differences between an experience that your top recruiter is providing and differences that maybe an entry-level recruiter is providing. There's also bias that is going to creep into the occasion or into the process, right? I think of events that teams are attending when you meet somebody face to face and you're scanning those resumes manually with your own two eyes. Somebody may have had a rough morning. You're going to judge that person versus if you meet them face to face, you put their information into the system and it truly gets looked at a zeros and ones process rather than that bias. It's also a slow hiring process. Manual phone calls, manual emails, all of this stuff takes time. None of it is automated in that sense. And you're going to lose candidates from that, right? Candidate loss is not something that shows up on the bottom line, especially if it happens in the first stages. Maybe you start to pay attention to it if you've extended some offers and people go their separate ways to different organizations. But if you meet somebody at an event or somebody applies to your job and you don't move fast enough and they can't get to that next step, you're never really going to recognize that on a balance sheet. And the other part is leaders are flying blind. When those questions come up as to, why we have 100 applications for this particular position, but I've only interviewed 2. Can you tell me the insights why? If you're tracking all of these insights and you're being reactive to try and fill these positions, you're not going to have the true answers. You're not going to have that dashboard to find where these pitfalls are within your organization, as opposed to if you are a fully, automated organization, you could say, oh, right here between steps 2 and 3 of our hiring process is where we're losing candidates. Let's see if we can button that up. Let's see if we can send out an email in between those steps to keep these candidates warm. I'm going to tie this all back to intelligence real quick for you. At a level 0, you are basing your decisions on gut, on what you have done in the past, on habit, and on whoever shouts the loudest in the meeting. A lot of times that's me. You don't want that to happen. You want to have true metrics to tie back to for that intelligence. Shouting in a meeting is not a scalable decision. Going on a gut feeling is not a scalable decision, despite how popular it is. And even if this is the way that you've done things always in the past, that is not a reason to evaluate and to move forward and try and put your organization and your human resource function into the future. The next aspect, now that we've covered level 0, I think pretty intricately, is that you can't skip levels. It is like going from riding a bike to riding a motorcycle, right? There are steps in between that you have to take. You have to get your license. You have to understand how to do things on a moped first before you hop onto that Harley or that, Suzuki or Yamaha or whatever it may be. Because if you jump without learning how to ride a bike first, you're only going to hurt yourself in the long run. Everyone wants to jump straight into agents and autonomy, especially because the marketing is so great about it. But you can't just do that. You have to set up those automations and that intelligence first and make sure that your workflows are seamless before you can truly jump into agents. If you don't automate first, your intelligence has nothing to work with. It's might as well be a gut feeling. The perfect analogy for this is installing a brand new app-based thermostat in your home, but your home doesn't have any electricity. It's not going to do any good. Might not even turn on. AI is not magic in this process, which is why you can't jump from 0 to 5. It is a maturity. It is leverage to help your organization get better over time and improve the inefficiencies that you have today. But you're not going to go from couch to marathon in 2 weeks. You're going to have to train your AI and intelligence models as well. Now, this has been a lot of information, and you may be thinking, Devin, thank you for all of this. We love your metaphors. We love the way that you've explained this. But how do we get started? How, if we've recognized that we are at level 0, what is the first step that we want to take? And truly what you have to do is ask yourself two questions. You have to ask yourself where you really are today. If some of you have identified that you're at level 0, great. That is fantastic. The other thing that you have to identify is, what do I want to do next? What is the next step in the process that is an easy lift that I can get in order to have that automation and turn it into intelligence, that I can leverage that automation with intelligence? I'm going to emphasize this again. You do not need to be a level 5. No one is a level 5 today. We've had this technology for roughly a year. No one is at that point. And if they tell you that they are, they're lying to yourselves. You also don't need to be at the next level tomorrow. You can implement small structural changes, get buy-in from your team, and then take the next step. Because if you move too fast, you're going to leave some folks behind, and no one ever wants to do that. Now, next week, we are going to talk about level 1. It's episode 2, level 1, so it's a little bit confusing. It's kind of like the Star Wars universe, so I'm glad that I used those analogies previously. We're going to talk about how to transition from level 0 to level 1. We're going to talk about task level automation. We're going to talk about assisted intelligence and why efficiency gains feel very good. They're fantastic to say, I got 15 interviews booked this week. Typically, I only do 7 or 8. It feels great. But what does that mean? Is it the right folks? So you need to have those steps in place, those efficiencies in place, and they do feel great, but also recognize what those next steps are. I want to stress that this entire series that we're doing on the 6 levels of AI and automation is not about hype. There's enough hype about artificial intelligence in HR as it stands today. This is all about helping HR leaders and HR practitioners learn that intelligence actually works and how to apply it with the steps of automation and then assisted intelligence. If this episode at all made you feel the slightest bit uncomfortable, if one thing that I said, oh my goodness, my team does that, they're copy and pasting job descriptions, good. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. Number 1, because that means you're paying attention. And number 2, it means you've recognized that you're not where you want to be and that you can slowly but surely achieve that next level as long as you focus on the core things. Can't wait to see all of you next week. I hope this was a fun episode. Stressful for me because it's just me, but I enjoyed talking to you all today. Can't wait to see you next week as we dive into level 1 of AI and automation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. I know we're going to have some guests, some experts on. We're also welcome anyone who may be experimenting with some of these AI and automation tasks. And of course, if this interests you even the slightest bit, the next best thing you can do, besides listening to episode 2, is going to be to register for Phenom, which is coming up March 10th through the 12th. We can't wait to see you there. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much.